Well, it was another small rank jump for me this week. I went from 866 after the nice 230 jump into that top 1,000 into 772. Now, the 50-50 call of Dewey or Edwards definitely killed the massive rank change, which probably would have pushed me sort of about 550th, which would have been really cool. But overall, still a move up, which is a very, very happy day each and every week when you do see that move up on the Sunday afternoon. Now, in terms of the good decisions here, very, very happy with Terrell as captain. I'm just leaving that on there. I did think about it this week, for round 20, if Cleary was playing, and it's definitely something to think about again, given the situation that we're going to see with them playing a very, very much a weaker side against the West Tigers there. Now, I have made the one initial trade as well. Now you can see Payne Haas is straight in the side for Keon Koloamatangi, and then there is 140k to play with and 7 trades remaining with one looper in Farnworth there after that move. And a decent amount of cash to be able to do a few things. I can do King Tonga or Fainu there to one of the Humphreys type plays, Galvin, these types of guys. We could go Nwangani Tawaze up to anyone. Hudson Young becomes pretty interesting. Blake Brayley, these types of guys that are in red hot form and continuing to kill it. Jerome Hughes, Eli Katoa, all these types of plays are going to be awesome. And then other guys that's the kind of problem. It's him or Garrick if you're looking at sort of those green dots that are of decent value. And then, the guys that you're not that interested in are King Tonga or Latu that are of a price where you can get a decent scorer and an improvement. And just improving the overall 21, basically, is kind of the theory there with that one. And with a lot of the top price guys going down, if you can get to Haas and you can get to Cleary, the rest of the guys aren't too crazy. You've already got Terrell May, obviously, and generally you should be okay from that point onwards in terms of being able to bring in guys of value. There's players like Preston that have gone down a fair bit. You've got Fogarty under 700, Kaipis Paul, Burfo Moore at 679 after his really tough one there. Preston 663. Guys like AFB, we know they have plenty of upside as well. Harry Grant at 629. So there are lots of players that can really perform well for you at very reasonable prices, and you can see that with Humphreys, with Boyd, with Galvin, those halves there as well. To finish off rest of round 20, we had Hines was okay with 50, Nafahu White a good solid 53 there. Turbo was probably my happiest with Zach Hosking. Those two there, 60 and 67. To buy Turbo a few weeks ago at a really cheap price, so it was very, very helpful for my side, and I did end up playing Latu Fainu there over the Loopman of Nwangani Tawaze. Heading into this week, we do see Nawa playing game 1, so all of those Roosters, and it gives me an opportunity to potentially do at least one loop, which would be, if I keep hold of him, it would be him again. And Teddy had the low one as well at 27, but it's very, very hard to see him go back-to-back really poor, uninvolved type games. So if Nawa stays in the side, then that's where he'll sit in that number 5 there, and we've got a couple of things we can do with the center loop with Farnworth there, with a few of those guys like Karaz, like Dewey, and Garrick that we can move around a bit, and then Farnworth can be placed in that sort of number four slot as well, and we can loop with number 5. So if I thought about it this way, Nwangani Tawaze sits in the 6 jersey. I could then move around with my dual guys and go, okay, let's just say Campbell switches with Karaz there. This is if I wanted the Nwangani Tawaze as a scorer, and then you'd have Garrick would also come into the wing fullback slot as well. So let's just say I was rolling with Garrick this week, then you could plug it like that. And you then see on the bench there's only the one player who is of centre dual, right? So that could work there. Or, the reason you do this one, guys, is more of a chance to double loop, right? So if Nwangani Tawaze doesn't score well from this 6 slot, then Teddy would be playing then, wouldn't he? Yeah, Teddy would be playing. He would be Turbo. Okay, so that first game. when you do have Roosters coming up against the Storm there. I don't have any Storm players, so Teddy would just have to be played straight up. If Nwangini Tuaze doesn't score well, how that could play is we could muck around with a few of those guys again. So Turbo could then just come out and switch with Karaz. Karaz could just go to then Herbie Farnworth, and then we could loop someone in the second or third game. So Cows and Dragons, I don't have any of those guys. We then have Broncos and Eels, also don't have any of those guys. Then we could loop Campbell in the fourth game. So then Campbell would sit in that 5. So that gives you an opportunity to do 2. And if you like Nwangini Tuaze in his score, or just say I trade out Nawa and it ends up being... Who else could I do? Yeah, then it'd probably just be Teddy in the 5 in that scenario, or a Crichton, or a Nafahu White, a Watson, someone that plays in that first game. So yeah, just give you a little bit of a thought process as to how to do a few of those moves. Now, my favorite part of every week at the moment is talking through the legends at the top, and Andrew pushes himself that little bit further. Oh, Jakey boy. Some updates ended up helping him out. They're only a couple of points behind, or different from each other, him and Daniel, and they're on the exact same points now. So with the complete update, they pushed Jakey back into second. Must just be because he was there last week. But we've got first and second still with Andrew and Jake, and Andrew's put 131 points on second with an awesome team value there, the best of the bunch there in the top, all of them, isn't it? Yeah, best team value out of all. And Les, who's also in the private crew, in 24th, he's in second best team value. So we're doing something right here. But the big news of the week, guys, is the movement from a couple of other guys in the private group there, with Harry moving into 10th with an awesome score of 959. He bought Edwards, which was great, along with Tyson, who had an absolute storm of a week, 1,006 with Edwards as well. And a few of the guns there, Kaipi's Paul, Jerome Hughes, and Hosking and Turbo there. Really, really good score from him this week there for 1,006, moving him into 13th. So to have first, second, 10th, and 13th out of 400 people is pretty crazy. And yeah, all the other boys down below there in Les, in Nige, Jeremy in there as well. And Johnny, that little bit lower as well. So guys, they're absolutely crushing it. And yeah, so excited to see. You still got Geordie there representing the podcasters crew, absolutely demolishing all of us. So shout out to everyone there. And Mungo Vess, Jamie Brown sitting in 5th there. And a few of the other guys, Thames, who was right up top there for a while. He's a few points behind now, but still, yeah, in prime time position. And I'm jealous of everyone in these spots there. So congrats to those guys for doing an awesome job. And in a week that kind of felt weird, Andrew didn't even have Edwards in the end and was still able to put together a good score. And that's a bit to do with that team value and being able to select and buy guys like Katoa, like Hughes, and then getting a few things right, like Turbo in there. But it was just really a week without the low scores. My side, I had a Latu Fainu there with the 29 off the bench. And Andrew didn't have to take any of those. He was able to leave out Duncan. He was able to leave out Garrick there. And helped him play the 2 of the best 3 correctly in Turbo and Cook. It just felt like Garrick probably had the most downside, I suppose, and Turbo looking really good, and Cook, we know he can be a fairly safe scorer if he's able to get good minutes. So yeah, it was one of those weeks that you look at a lot of these scores in the 40s and you go, well, it's not an amazing week, but when you can have that consistency and get the odd decent scorer like he did, you can still manage to score well. And that's what you should be thinking about yourselves in whichever team you're locked in at. Jakey boy, same deal here. Hughes and Katoa, really big factors, along with Hosking this week. And even Captain Farnworth. So if you captained Terrell May there, he gets the extra 23 points and sits him at 935 and extends on third and beyond. So yeah, a week there, we've got Aiden Fanua-Blake, you got Tarpanay, you got Katoa, you got Colin Matangi and Bo Fermor for 29, and can still end up with a decent week. So just good to know for everyone else out there. You can have a slightly lower squad value like that, or you could be in the 13.5s, 13.6s, whatever it is, down lower than that, and you can continue to push in the right direction. I'm sitting at 772 myself with a 14.177 squad value, and I feel like I've got enough of a team value and a squad value to be able to get the players we want. And and build a strong 21. And now the reason we want to be focusing on that 21 guys is more around injuries and running out of trades later on. So if you've got what that strong 21 helps you do is get a strong 17 on the park with loopers, however it works, just making sure that your 17 scorers are really good each and every week, right? If you're going to have 2 or 3 weeks where your 17 is compromised, that could be anywhere between 70 and 120 points or even more, the worse you end up with, you're running out of trades and all the rest. So I find that very, very important to focus on there, and that's why I could look at King Tonga out of the side, with 520k there. You can look at guys like Humphreys at 469 or Galvin in there in a very similar price point, and you're going to get a much better score out of them. And then you even might be able to play them with that safer score ahead of guys like Garrick and stuff. You're hoping to average 50, but it can be very temperamental, and you're just sitting and hoping that they score a try or two or something like that. Whereas guys like Humphreys, you're looking at base stats. If you're buying an edge like Hudson Young or Preston or Crichton or whoever you want to buy, you're looking at very simple base stats. Jamal Fogarty at 682. These kind of guys can just do the job and you can feel safer around them. Now, Beau Fermor didn't on the weekend, but every other week, basically, he's been able to go 55, 60 and have really good scores like that. So I think you got to keep that in mind when you're looking at different decisions you're going to make. You may be sitting there with 2 or 3 real cheap guys, and then if you have 1 or 2 out, this week you could have Farnworth and Isaiah Katoa out, and you're looking or needing to make 2 trades just to not have to worry about fielding a King Tonga or a Latu in there. Like I was out a couple of players last week, and then Luke Nawa, who didn't score well, so I end up having to play Latu rather than having a Humphreys or something like that to feel confident about as your 17th man. And there's an extra 20 odd points just straight off the bat. So that kind of stuff's important. And yeah, I think just if you're sitting there with sort of, obviously it could be anywhere between 4 and sort of 12 trades, the risks that you can take around that and the strategy you're going to be able to employ is going to be different for all trade levels and all ranking situations. So that's where the private group is awesome, guys. They can give you the one-on-one support and the one-on-one help, and so can the other guys in the crew can help you out in choosing what's correct for your trades and your situation. It might be that improving that 21 and upgrading one of these guys is better right now, because overall, if you have the suspensions, you have the buys, you have an injury, you can cover them a lot better with a good scorer. For other people, it might be making those marginal upgrades, like a Garrick up to a Fogarty or Garrick up to someone else from a different position. Pat Carrigan's under 700k, who's a 56 average. You could wait a week and go Isaiah Katoa. Like, there's a few different things that you can do very comfortably. Jerome Hughes, all these types of guys to do really well by spending an extra 100k or so and doing that. And you feel near higher trades, and that could be the correct play for you, or you're going to wait around and decide that I'm going to pounce late. If we keep getting some of the injuries that have popped up, then I'll go hard later down the track. So there are a few of the things to think about, and all you should be really focusing on for the remainder of the year. Now, we have moved into finals for the JBFA private head-to-head. So point of this was to get it all done once Origin was done, get it all done before all of the carnage, so around 20, 21, 22, and 23. So I managed to sneak the win there with 9-13, so very, very happy with that. Actually would have lost all of the other matchups apart from one. So very, very strong top 8 here with Hayden, Jacob, Josh, Zara in there. Sorry, mate, you'll go into the qualifying, I think. Stephen, Katie, and also Jarks there. So yeah, into the semi-finals for those guys now. They'll top 8, bottom 8, top 4, bottom 4 kind of thing, and then moving straight into the prelim. Who have I got? Doesn't say so far. Me and Josh are straight through. So very, very cool on that one. Very happy to get through and still be in the running of that one. May as well have a look at the others while we're there. Is it going to tell me fixtures? Damn, won't show me, will it? Boring. Anyway. But yeah, private career absolutely flying right now. You got Les, you got Jeremy, John, Danny. I think we got 16 in the top 100, which is really, really cool. 70, yes, 16 including Nige, who hasn't put himself in the crew, and then 101st for Dave there, who's had a crazy little last run. He ended up winning our prize for the mid part of the year. So we do a prize for the buy period, and David ended up winning that one, having a cracker time period there. And then we do another prize for round 20 through to round 27. So there's other little incentives to be part of the crew here. Won a jumper at $100 and something, which was cool for that period of time. And yeah, shout out to everyone else on this screen. I'm sitting near 60th, 61st at the moment. So still plenty of moves to make there. Got the win in Gargarov. We're still pushing ourselves into the top 100 there. You'll hear from Mitchy Boy tonight. And yeah, 80th in full times of fantasy. Andrew is crushing it in that one. And well deserved for that one there. 54th in Cowboys Official. We'll take that. And then let's just finish it off with the Battle of Podcasts. Thanks so much, Legends, for checking in for this one. The beautiful results video each and every week. So Jordan absolutely flying out in front, about 200, almost 290 points ahead of Austin in second, who's having a cracker and a really nice week again there of 940, pushed him into 280th. And that did include having some low scores in there with Ellie, Katoa, Preston, and Burton, and having Farnworth as captain there, but did bring in Edwards, and shout out to him. He, when I was saying that Latrell was going to be just coming into my side, I had the cash, I'm just going in. He's like, I think Edwards is a better pick, 200k cheaper, and he won't be too far off. And well played, sir. And then when Latrell went down, he's like, it's right there, mate. And then I still didn't end up doing it. So there you go. We can't always win them all, that's for sure. And then Terrence in third with Nick. I think Nick had a really good week, 956. Jakey Boy, unfortunately, a lower one for him. So I'm on the charge to try and catch Jake next, move up into fifth, and managed to win this Podcasters League last year. Everyone kind of, I was 757, and everyone else was below that. So a much better year for the crew so far, and let's see who can stay in amongst it. All right, we got Chrissy Boy, Daniel Long. We've got them by a little bit now, which is good. Just over 50 points for Chris and 120 for Mr. Longy. And then, you go down the line there. We saw with Nikki on last night. Make sure you go and check out that video and podcast, guys, with Nikki. We spoke all about the best buys of the week, his strategy, all that type of stuff as well, from someone sitting at 5,500. So it's a different strat to where I'm at. It might be a bit more chasey. Might need to utilize things a bit different. He talks about the difference with team value as well, where he's at compared to some of the top guys, and then scrolling down from there all the way down to 35 there. So yeah, we'll leave it there, guys. Thanks so much for tuning into the results and my strategy and thoughts there. I hope it helped you guys, and we'll catch you in the next one, which will be Mitchy's video, followed by TLT tomorrow afternoon.